Hey guys, how we doing? It's been a while, but we are back with another 3 and 3 with a special guest, Greg, Midlife Sports Cards. Greg, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm honored. There are very few shows that I lobbied to get on harder than this one. So I'm thrilled to be here.
You didn't have to lobby. It was just a matter of me getting around to doing another one of these again. There was a time I did like even sometimes multiple per week, one a week, maybe two in 1 week. And then I've kind of slowed down here recently, but the show's still alive. It's still going. It might just be a month or two between episodes, but it's still going. So that's the good news.
Cool.
We did a special. I put some special guardrails, or I don't know if guardrails or rules for you, which might not be fair, but I figured since you're such a well-rounded collector and you collect multi-sports, multi-eras, I said, we're going to do 3 and 3, three of your favorite cards that you own in your collection, and then 3 that you hope to get. I said, let's do one from each era. So we're going to do one from pre-war, one from vintage, and then one from modern, which, anything after basically 1980. And you were cool with that. And we'll even have a little multi-sport action going on here. So
Mhm.
we'll be looking at a lot of different cards, different sports, different eras. Should be fun. But what's funny? Before we get into that, I was thinking today, I was like, when was the first video that I watched of Greg's? Because I've seen so many of your videos, like so many of us have. You've built an awesome community and you're consistent. You put out great content. So thank you for that. But I was like, when did I actually, watch his first video? I knew it was before you were on with Theo. And I know a lot of people in this little niche of the world here found out about you through Theo's interview with you that you had. But I actually had seen one of your videos and I knew it. So I looked back and I remember it was about like the junk wax era. And I looked back at your videos and I wrote it down. It was, I don't know if you remember it. It was over a year ago, but it said, the title was Why the Junk Wax Era Matters.
Mhm.
And it just like popped up in my feed. I didn't know who you were. And I was driving. I remember it. And I was thinking, man, I agree with what he's saying here, So I don't even know if you remember what you said in that video, but that
I
was the
do.
first one I ever saw.
I do. And one of the things I talked about is that a lot of people think that the junk wax era is all 1989 tops, but it's not. And one of the things I went into in that video were the minor league cards from that era, and how a lot of those minor league cards are fairly rare. And then a friend of ours in common, Brent Richards, he collects a lot from that era of different Nolan Ryans and Ken Griffey Juniors and stuff, where they're kind of like they're not the super common cards, and they're really cool cards. And so we think of all of the stuff from that era as garbage, but it's not. It's like there's a lot of good stuff in there.
And they're iconic, like they made millions of a lot of them, but the fact that we saw them over and over and we all had the same cards as our friends and we know them so well, if we, say a card, 87 Bo Jackson, everyone knows exactly what it is. So in a way, they made a lot of them, but it also made them iconic. So we'll never forget those cards. So,
Y- and
I look fondly at it.
I think I shared this story in that video, and if not, I'll share it real quick. But I remember distinctly the Don Mattingly Columbus Clippers minor league card was the first minor league card I was ever aware of. And that card got heavily reprinted.
Mhm.
Like it was just everywhere. And it still is everywhere. And I remember going into the local card shop and him talking about this friend of his who bought one, and it found out it was a reprint, and then how these reprint of these minor league cards aren't worth much. And it kind of turned me off to minor league cards. So I was a guy who had every Clemens card, and I never bought the Clemens minor league card because I was in my mind, it was minor league cards are like all fake. And so looking back, there are a couple of cool Mattingly minor league cards, and there's
Yep.
a cool Daryl Strawberry, and there's a cool Ricky Henderson, and the Clemens and the Griffey. There's a bunch of them, and they're really cool cards.
This is so funny that you bring up minor league cards. or pre-rookie cards. I don't know. Sometimes I go down these little rabbit holes, and I've been trying to learn a little bit more about ultra modern baseball cards, because for me it was like so confusing. I'm trying to figure out like what's a player's like best cards, or because it's like totally flipped, because like when you're talking minor league cards, maybe I'm wrong, but when I was younger collecting, it always felt like the minor league cards, I always thought I remember one time going like, wait a minute, this should be worth even more than a rookie card. It's older, it's before they're even a rookie card. But it was always like, no, they're not as wanted or in demand. But now it's like the other way around. The ultra modern cards, they make the pre-rookie cards, the Bowman Chrome stuff, where they're not even in the league yet, and those are like the biggest cards. So the rookie cards, when they actually get up to the majors, they're like second-class citizens. So it's totally like flipped from when, at least I remember, when we were kids.
100%. And I think part of that is because by the time they're rookies, we know who's good. And when you have like the first Bowman Chrome, like the first Bowman, that series is like right after they're drafted. And so you don't really know who's good. So you don't really know who, I mean, that where they fell in the draft order, and that gives you some clue. But in baseball, you can have a 25th rounder become a Hall of Famer. And so they all get those first Bowmans, and then you're like, it's kind of a shot in the dark, and so they're kind of equal. But once the cards hit packs and they're actually in the bigs, then you kind of know by then who the good guys are. So they're kind of less in demand.
Everything flips, on card autos. They used to be, we don't want those. Now everyone wants them, on like vintage cards. So it's funny because everyone now is like building a collection, for 20 years from now, and they're thinking, all right, this is but it'll probably be the exact opposite or something else different that people will want. So it's probably going to backfire on us at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, here we go. So we're going to look at 3 of your favorite cards to start. Now you can, whatever order you want to do them in, but we're going to do one pre-war, one vintage, one modern. So wherever you want to start, showing the first of some of your favorite cards. Doesn't have to be like the top 3 in your collection, but
so
whatever you want to do.
I picked 3 cards that I think kind of help tell the story of what I collect and how I collect and why. And so I decided to start with the modern. And I asked you when you texted me, what do you consider modern? And you said anything after 1980. And I said, perfect.
Yeah.
Because one of my Grail basketball card is the Bird Dr. J Magic. And I have this in a 7. And as a kid, I could never afford this card. And so I didn't ever buy it, because I remember as a kid, this was like a $300 card. And I bought the one that was like, it had Bill Cartwright and Bird on it, because Bird was on like 3 or 4 of them.
Yep.
And one of them had Bill Cartwright. And I bought that one. Didn't know that I would end up working in a school district where literally a mile from me is the high school that Bill Cartwright went to. But that was the only one I could afford. And so about, maybe 3 years ago, I bought this 7, and it is my Grail basketball card. It's the card that I never thought I would have. I saved up a lot to get it. I bought it probably, I'm sure I paid more than it's worth now, but I'll have that card forever. So that's the first one. Again, because I do collect basketball, football, and baseball, I wanted to show a variety. And I know you're a Bird collector.
Yep.
And I was a big Larry Bird guy growing up. I was a Celtic fan. And so I had the full Larry Bird run as a kid, but the rookie was not that one. It was one of the other ones. But I had all the other ones. In fact, right behind me in my case, I've got my 81 tops that I have from my childhood collection. I ended up sending to PSA just because I was curious, and it got an 8. So that's a big card for me.
I know you've said this on your channel too, but that does look better than a 7 to me. That looks beautiful, like beautifully centered, everything. So you got a great copy there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Very
tried to
clean.
buy one that I thought was a little under good. It's got some of these have a little bit of the dark print spots on them in
Yeah.
that year, and so it has a couple of those, which I think bring it down at least one grade. It's not bad, but it's enough to cost it, and that doesn't really bug me. All right, so that's the modern card. So now my vintage card, again, just because I collect uh, basketball, football, and baseball, I decided, and I've shown this card, but I don't show it that often. But this is my autogram rookie,
Mm.
and I wanted one that was really well centered because I knew I wouldn't. It gets really expensive once it gets up to like the 5 range, and so I knew I would never get one with sharp corners. But to me, that's a pretty nice looking copy considering it's a 3. So I try to buy something that with good eye appeal. And I love the 50 Bowman uh football and baseball. I think it's a fabulous set. There's a lot of cards from it that I really like. And Autogram was, he was like the Tom Brady with all the championships of the vintage era. He's one of the guys in the conversation of greatest ever because quarterbacks, if you win. And so I've been putting his run together, and the only one I'm missing is his second year, the 51 Bowman. I'm trying to be patient and wait for the right one with the right eye appeal. But I picked that card up maybe about a year and a half ago, and it was a really good deal. And I was like, man, I have an autogram rookie card, and he has an exhibits card that's
Mhm.
like a 48 to 52 or something. So it's like some of them may have been printed earlier, but I mean, pretty universally, this is the rookie. So,
What did he won? How many championships?
now you're
7 or
calling me
8,
out.
right?
Huh?
He won as many as
Remember, they
Brady.
weren't NFL. They weren't
Right.
all NFL. There was a couple of different leagues. I'd have to look. It was more than a handful.
I think I've heard someone say he won as many, maybe as many as Brady. So
All right, I got to look it up
maybe
now.
we'll look it up because I swear I've heard he won like at least 7 in a
You
different
might be
format.
right. Yeah, I'm not going to hit the right thing here. Oh, here we go. Championships. He won 7 championships.
Okay. I knew I
He
heard
was
that
in
somewhere.
10 championship games, won 7.
There you go.
So,
Winner.
I mean, he's a pretty prolific player, at the
Yeah.
most important position in the game. So, uh, yeah, I try to collect a few guys. I have a few Unitas cards. I'd like his rookie. I've had his rookie. I sold it, but I'd like to get his rookie again. I've got several Sammy Baugh cards. Bart Starr. I've got several of his cards. So, and then Jim Brown, I have several as well. Those are the main guys.
I'm with you.
Now
I think vintage
go ahead.
football is under collected, but that's a whole other episode. But I
Yeah,
agree with a
that's a
lot of
whole
things you say with that.
yeah, and it's fun that as it's affordable now, it's fun that you could pick it up for a fraction of the price. I mean, I
Yeah.
this 3, I want to say I paid like $450 for it or something. I'd
Beautiful.
have to
That's a
look it
beautiful
up.
card. Wow.
Yeah, and it's like Autogram's rookie card perfectly centered in a 3,
Yeah.
and it's like, but I don't know. And then the last card I think tells it hits a cross section of what I collect. And so this is the baseball card I chose to represent, and this is pre-war. So this is my Willie Keeler T206 portrait. He's got 2 cards in the set. Now again, you can see I'm a centering guy. All these cards, the centering are pretty good. This is a 2. The thing I love about, and it's a Piedmont back. The thing I love about this card and why it represents a lot of my collection is number one, I really like the T206 cards because as a kid, I would see them in the cases, and even the commons just blew me away at how beautiful they were for me. And some people hate them, but I love them. And I was like, I'll never own any of those. So, I started as an adult when I actually have some money. I'm like, I'm going to start buying some of these and some of the Hall of Famers, and it's a way to learn about those Hall of Fame players. I mean, Willie Keeler had the hit streak before Joe DiMaggio broke it, you know? I
Hmm.
mean, Willie Keeler batted over 400, and you know, he was a Yankee. You know, he was a Yankee when the Yankees were Highlanders. And the thing I also like about that is one of my sub collections within my collection is I collect different Yankee captains. And so from the very first one, Clark Griffith, on through Kid Elberfeld, and then Willie Keeler, and all the way to now Aaron Judge. And that's something I like kind of as a part of my collection. And so I know you like collecting like one card from a bunch of different sets.
Yep.
And this is a way for me to kind of pick up a card from different sets and have them represented. But the meaning behind the player that I chose is is got some meaning behind the team that I root for, and the, you know, the history of that club and stuff. So that represents Yankee captains. It also represents T206 Hall of Famers, and is part of my my pre-war kind of collection.
Yeah, I've started to gain. Well, not I've always appreciated, but I tried purposely not to focus too much on pre-war stuff because I was so preoccupied with what I was trying to do in the other eras. But now that I'm kind of thinning out some of the player collections and trying to get more of a, I guess, broad collection of the best sets ever, or in my mind at least, the best, most iconic sets ever. Yeah, I've been trying to T205. I did a video recently where I was asking for recommendations on
Yeah.
a card to get from the T205 set, because that's another set I want to get. Have some great recommendations. Does Keeler have a card T205 or maybe?
I should know this, and I don't think I do. The one that I always think of that I like a lot from that set that I don't think I responded to you, but the one I would have is Home Run Baker has a really cool card in that set. And
Oh,
he's
okay.
not one of those top tier guys that,
Right.
you know, but for me, you know, he's a Highlander, he's a Yankee,
Yeah.
and, you know, he's got the name, and he's got one of those cool hats in the picture where it's like the old pirate hats, like the Kent Colby pirate hat, you know,
Yep.
and it's a cool card, and that was the one that I was going to throw out there to you to consider because
Okay.
it's affordable. The other ones I was thinking about that was either the Tinker or the Chance, or, you know, one of those guys. But anyway,
So before we get into three cards that you want to add, I did want to ask you, because I watch just about all your videos. A lot of times I'm driving when I listen, so I don't always comment, but I'm always listening. And I think you've said a couple times now that you're gonna make some changes next year, maybe, and with your channel, whether it's, you know, slowing down or less videos, or I don't know exactly. But I wanted to ask you, what do you anticipate, without like spilling the beans if there's any big things, but what do you think might change with your channel in 2025, if anything?
that's a good question. I
Not that
don't
anything needs
really.
to change, but
Yeah,
you know.
I don't really know. I I put a lot of pressure on myself to I'm not able to just do it. Like, I was editing a video last night that went out today, and I was like, I couldn't get myself to not add in certain images and do certain editing
Yeah.
things. And so I'm the kid in school who took a 45-minute essay and found a way to turn it into a 3-hour essay. And so it's tough because I still have certain responsibilities that I do take care of. I just don't have much downtime. So I think what that was is I'm giving myself permission to not have like 4 videos a week. I'm trying to give myself permission to if one week it's only 2, it's only 2. And I had these goals for myself that I wanted to hold myself accountable to for the first 2 years, and I've done that. And for the first time, I still am responding to almost every comment, but there have been a few that I just read and then I heart them, and I haven't physically responded, and that's been hard for me. But I'm slowly trying to put myself in a realistic expectation, because I am doing like 4 or 5 videos a week, responding to every comment, and the videos aren't 15 minutes where I just flip the switch, talk, and then flip it and then load it. There's editing involved in all of them, and the hard part is, though, for me, is I love doing it so much. It's so much fun for me that I don't want to not do that much. But I know there are times that I need to. So like my daughter Lucy this weekend. You see how long-winded I'm getting? My
That's
daughter
fine.
Lucy this weekend, she's got a game Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, when am I going to do my Monday video? My Monday video is my, uh, viewer comments and responding to that and sharing those, which I love. But I'm like, when am I going to do that? So I'm like trying to figure out where in the weekend I'm going to, because I want to give time for, I don't want to do it today because I want to give time for people to respond. So those are the sorts of things where I'm like, I need to give myself more grace.
Well, you've done an awesome job. That video that I was talking about earlier, I started watching a little bit of it today just to kind of refresh. And I was like, you know what? This was before Greg really is Greg now. Like you didn't I think at that point, you didn't really know too many people on YouTube or anything. And then here we are. Yeah. It's just awesome. Like it just shows what's possible if that's what you want to do. If you want to meet a lot of other collectors, you certainly did that. I mean, it's unbelievable how many people that you've known. I mean, I've done somewhat of that with 3 and 3 when I first started. One of the reasons I thought this would be a cool show is, it highlights cards and so forth, but it was a great way for me to meet people too, really. And at the end of every episode, I would ask, recommend someone else. And then I've kind of just worked my way through and met so many cool people through it. I've slowed down, but yeah, so it's just been awesome to watch the evolution of what you've made with your channel, and I'm happy to be part of. I consider myself a midlifer too, midlife nation.
You're part of Midlife Nation.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you, but there are certain people in the community that I feel like I've really connected with and I feel very, very comfortable with. And you and I have actually not even met in person, because I
Right.
wasn't at the National last year and you weren't this year.
Yep.
And and I was really bummed out when I heard you weren't going, because I was like, one of the people I was really planning on spending some time with was you. And I know that we've talked a little bit about, well, maybe we should go to a Burbank show because it's not that far from you. It's not that far from me. And then we could meet at Petty's house and we could hang out with him and down there. And it's like, but it's like, I do feel close with you, and we've never even been in the same state at the same time, which is crazy.
Yeah. And we're on a little text chain. I know you're on a lot of different text chains, but we've had one that's been going a while now with a few other guys, and it provides some great laughs, so you feel like you really know people through that too.
100%. 100%.
Well, let's look at a few cards here that you'd like to get at some point. Let's see. Let me pull up Card Ladder. I like to show some images if I can.
Yeah.
And there we go. All right. So whenever you're ready, I'll punch in a card.
So I'll go in the same order that I went. So I'll go modern to pre-war.
Okay.
Now this is a card everybody knows, but I've never owned it ever. And I chased it and I chased it and I chased it, and I've never owned it to this day. And it's, believe it or not, the '89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay.
I'll
show a picture, but everyone knows what it looks like.
I've never owned the card, and I feel like it's a card I need to own, but I don't. Is that so a 9 is selling for $170 now?
Yeah, let's see.
I need to break down and just do it.
PSA 9, yeah, one. Let's see. Upper Deck Griffey.
It needs the 1989.
Let me do the ladder. The ladder will be better for this one because it's yeah. So, all right, yeah, they value it at $170. Yep. Now
The hard part for me with a card like this
Yep.
is it's always going to be available. I could buy this card any day of the week,
Yeah.
365 days of the year. So to be spending, money on it now when I know I could get it whenever I want, it's hard to just break down and do it. And and so I was thinking, our buddy Darren, he was doing a giveaway about a year ago, and one of his giveaways was this card, and I'm like, my destiny is to win it from Darren,
Oh yeah.
and then Darren is going to send it to me, and his I think was a 9, and I didn't win it, but then you turned around and you won the T206 white cap Christy Mathewson, and I don't know if you know this because I know this. You were on the wheel when it hit you. It almost went to the next name. And do you know who the next name on the wheel was?
It must have been you.
It was me. I
Oh,
mean, we were like a fraction. We were side by side on the wheel, and I was the next name. I was like,
I never
this
win
is actually
anything. I never
Yeah.
win anything. I'm telling you, that was like the first time. I got so I can't believe I got that lucky. I still can't believe it.
Yeah, it's awesome. But so yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a card. It might be a bit of a cop out card, just as my backup, just so people could maybe see a quick card that not everybody already knows. But the Derek Jeter card that has Mickey Mantle in the dugout and George Bush in the stands.
Oh
I
yeah,
have it. I have the base version of that, but I don't have maybe put.
sales history. I'll go back to there.
I want it in gold, so I
Okay,
want the gold one. And that gets a little bit expensive. It's not
maybe not.
showing up.
Oh, I'm in the ladder. I'm sorry. Here we go. There it is.
There
Let's
it
see.
is.
Yep. There
That's
is.
the card.
There's Bush and there's the Mick right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, regardless of what somebody politically thinks of George Bush, there was a legendary moment in Yankee Stadium with George W. Bush that nobody can deny was a special moment
Mhm.
when he threw that strike at the World Series as a first pitch. And so I think that those three guys had some very special moments in Yankee Stadium, and it makes it a very cool card. And again, I have the base. I think it's in a 9. It doesn't really matter the grade, but that would be the backup card.
In a gold, that one went for a couple $100, over a couple
Oh
hundred
yeah,
bucks. Yeah.
yeah. In a gold, in an 8, it's going to be like $250 or
Okay.
something. Yeah,
Wow. That
yeah, I
is a cool
know.
card.
Yeah.
You know what card I was looking at today? You know that there's a David Cohn card from 1998 Metal Universe where it has it's a base card, but it goes for like $20, $30 when you can find it. Where it has the Twin Towers in the background, and it was from
Oh wow.
1998. So, well, sorry to change the subject, but let me bring that up just real quick. I want to show that
Yeah.
I didn't know about it until pretty recently, and David Cohn medal. There we are, 1998. And so it's kind of like, it would be a dollar card. Let's see, but it's because of the Twin Towers, it goes for a lot more. 1998 Metal Universe. Here we go. It's like a set. There's PMGs in and everything. Let's see if here it is. Okay. So you'll
Oh
see.
wow.
So look at that. That's a card right there.
Yeah.
So just a base card that because of that it goes for a lot more money. But I was looking at that. It was like there was one on eBay, but it was kind of beat up. So I was like, it'll come around. There's plenty of them, but
Yeah.
along those
That's pretty
lines, just something
cool.
special. Yeah. All
Cohn,
right.
that's a guy who someday might have a chance of making the Hall of Fame. If you look
He
at
was
his
great.
numbers. Yeah.
Great pitcher. Yep.
Yep. All right, so then my vintage card, I actually changed it as we were talking. I was like, nope, that's not the one. It's actually this other one. So one thing I love is I love cards that are like nice tight shots of the guy's face. Those portrait where you can really see the player. And I love the cards where the youth of the player really pops out. And so a card I've always loved the looks of since I was a little kid is the 54 Tops Alkaline.
Okay. Rookie card, right? Yep.
It's his rookie card. That's
Yep.
one of the three big rookie cards from that year with the Banks and with the Hank Aaron. And I just think I mean, he was the youngest guy ever to win a batting title. He was like 19 or something when he won a batting title. And he just looks so young there. And it's got the beautiful red. It's an awesome set from 54 Tops. And that's a card that is on the short list. I mean, look at that card. Look how
Look at that.
baggy his clothes are on him
Yep.
because he's this skinny kid. The old Tigers logo. I just think it's fantastic.
I mean, and you're talking as long as you're cool with it. I mean, you could probably get a mid grade on this card, but you could get a nice looking two like this, two or three for this is like $300. No, it sold for 240. So not that pricey when you really factor in how great he was and that it's a rookie card from 1954.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the second best Tiger of all time behind
Yeah.
Ty Cobb, right? And
Yep.
he's, just a great player, a great guy. I mean, he signed a lot at card shows. His autographs are very affordable. I remember seeing him on the card circuit lots of times. We'd go over and see all those guys signing. He was signing for years, and always a cool guy. So that would be the vintage card that from the 50s, especially that I'm most kind of I could see happening in the next year.
Well, and along the lines of a recent video you did where you went over so many vintage cards that are really surprisingly low price, and something like a lot of times we talk about, our vintage card's going to go down over time. And a lot of them are pretty damn cheap already. Like, I mean, you look at this,
Yeah.
$240 for a card like this. So yeah, I mean, other than the big, glamour cards from this era, a lot of the cards are already pretty cheap, really.
Yeah. Yeah, they really are. Okay, so then the last one, so my pre-war pick, this was my number one target at the National this year. And it's the T206 Cy Young portrait. And I went through the whole room twice, only with eyes for this card. And there were several in the room, but I just not one that I could get myself to spend $3,000 on.
Mm.
And I mean, this one's at 2.5 and sold for 3,400. I mean, it. I'm okay with anything from like a 1.5 to a 3.5 that I could afford that meets what my eye needs, and what my eye might need might be different than what someone else would want, but it's just it's Cy Young. The thing about Cy Young that people I think maybe don't realize is Cy Young was actually a second ballot Hall of Famer. He did not get in on the first ballot. Him and Trish Speaker were not the inaugural ballot. Those guys were the second ballot. I mean, Christy Mathewson was an inaugural guy, first ballot, with Ruth and Cobb but that's an interesting fact about him. But the fact that the guy just pitched and pitched and pitched and pitched and like 500 wins or whatever he's got, and the award named after him, and being a Clemens guy and all of Clemens Cy Youngs, it's like he's just a legendary name. And to me, the T206 portrait cards are just special. The Cleveland across the chest, it's an awesome card.
Yeah.
So that's the pre-war card that is currently highest on my list.
Now, does the back make a big difference on the price with a card like this?
Big time.
Okay.
I mean, you could, if you go with a super rare back like a broadleaf or a Tolstoy or something like that, it'll 2.5, 3x, 4x. If you go to like a drum back, it would 5x or 6x the price. And that's why most of my T206s, because I mean, I have maybe 25 T206s, and most of them are Sweet Cap and Piedmont, because I'm not collecting. I like the backs, but I've got one or two Sovereigns, I've got one or two Polar Bear backs. I don't have any of the crazy stuff because I'd just rather spend the money on other cards. But it's fun to represent a variety of backs. So I would think I would get a Piedmont or a Sweet Cat back just because that's going to be the most affordable for the eye appeal that I want.
What's the oldest baseball? I know you have some really old pirate cards, but what's the oldest baseball card you have? Is it a T206 or do you have stuff earlier than that?
Yeah, T206 were from 1909. Uh, I don't think I have any 1800s baseball cards. I don't, not off the top of my head. There are a couple of sets that I really like that I've not. A couple of Allen and Ginter sets early on. You know, the Goodwin Champions cards are phenomenal, but you start getting into some of those guys and they're super expensive, like a King Kelly or something, and you're talking thousands, even in a one. So I guess it would be those 1909s. I have several in the teens, several in the 20s, but I think the T206 are probably the earliest. Yeah.
Because the awesome card that Darren gifted me from that contest, I just look at it and I just go, man, this card's my grandparents weren't even born when this card came out, 1909.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather was born in 1914, and I'm like, man, this is unbelievable how old this card is. I just stare at it and think how is it still here? It's amazing.
Well, when I was buying some of those pirate cards early on, my buddy, our buddy Mookie, Mookie Chilson, he said something that caught me, and since then he's since bought an early 1800s Abe Lincoln card that was a monster card. But he said, Greg, a guy who fought in the Civil War could have pulled that from a pack of tobacco. And I'm like, my goodness, that's crazy to think about. That literally this could be a Civil War soldier's cigarette pack pull. Like that put it in some perspective to me that was kind of mind blowing when I do those pirate cards, which I'm now at about 32 or so of the 50 in the set. Those are 1888. Yeah.
You mentioned Mookie. I still have a package ready to go to send to you on also Mookie from from Hobby Palooza.
Oh, my Pedro Martinez card.
Oh yeah, I got a few. I just I have been way behind on getting some things out, but before the end of this year, I will have not only you guys, but I have a few others I'm sending stuff to. So they're coming. And Mookie, if you're watching, I got stuff coming your way. But sorry for the delay on that. And maybe someday, Mookie, we'll do a pinhole 3 and 3. That would be pretty cool.
Oh, that he would be the guy to have on for that for sure.
Famous pinhole collector, Mookie Chilton.
I gotta say something. When you did that on Hobby Palooza, you said ESPN all-time greatest 100 has, and when you do a live stream on a StreamYard, there's about a 10-second delay from the time you speak to the time the audience hears it. And I heard you say that, and knowing that you're a big Pedro guy, I knew the question was going to be about Pedro because Pedro's ranked really, really high on that list. He's like number 10 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said on the ESPN Top 100, it lists, and I just said Pedro Martinez before you even asked the question because I knew that was going to be the answer. And it was, and everybody else had to hear the rest of the question before they could start to type it in. And so I was a shoo-in.
Good work. Yeah, it was smart by you right there. Well, Greg, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I want to thank you again for putting out content every week, multiple times a week that I can watch and listen to. And you make longer videos, which is great for driving. And it's funny. I don't even like listen to like sports radio or barely even watch that much sports anymore. I think I've probably heard your voice in the in the last year more than like other than my family. You're probably the one voice that I've heard the most. I don't know what that says about me, but thank you.
That's an honor.
Yeah.
That's an honor. Well, I'll tell you this with all seriousness that this whole, YouTube thing that started for me about 25 months ago, not even. Uh, some of the friends that I've made with like people like yourself have honestly been the best part. And I look forward to, when that chat start getting fired up and you drop some funny comment from right field that has me chuckle in the middle of my work day. Like that stuff is awesome. And at some point, we'll actually be in the same room together and we'll actually get to shake hands.
Absolutely. Well, guys, this goes out on a podcast too. So some people that maybe don't go on YouTube that much, it's worth it to go on there and subscribe and watch Graig's channel if you're into cards, midlife sports cards. If you're on YouTube, you already know Graig, but I want to encourage anybody who might not be a big YouTube sports card person. Maybe you're just out on Instagram or you listen to podcasts only. Graig doesn't go out as a podcast, so get on YouTube and check out his channel. All right, guys. That was episode 37 of 3 and 3. Happy to be back with it. I don't know when the next one will be, but when we do it, it will be fun. Thanks again, Graig.
Awesome.